We gave you every opportunity, and you threw it all away, my mother sobbed dramatically, dabbing her eyes in front of a packed courtroom. My father nodded right beside her, while their high-priced lawyers smirked, confident they were about to legally strip me of every single dollar I owned. The gallery whispered in disgust, expecting me to break down and beg for mercy. But as Judge Harrison adjusted his glasses and scanned the financial evidence, he froze mid-sentence. He looked up slowly, eyeing my parents' legal team, and asked one devastating question. Wait, I read about this company in Forbes last week. Which one of you is lying to my face? A suffocating silence instantly fell over the entire courtroom. The smirk vanished from my parents' attorney's face as he hurriedly shuffled through his papers, while my mother's theatrical tears froze in her eyes. Sitting calmly beside my lawyer, I didn't scream or argue. I simply smiled. Before I reveal how my parents walked right into a legal trap of their own making, follow my story until the end and comment the city you're watching from so I can see how far my story has reached. My name is Lauren, and at 29, I learned that greed can make your own family blind. To understand why my parents were standing in court trying to destroy my life, you have to look back at the dynamic that governed our household for decades. In my parents' eyes, my older brother, Julian, was the golden child who could do no wrong. He wore tailored suits, drove luxury cars he couldn't afford, and constantly bragged about his high-flying entrepreneurial ventures. I, on the other hand, was the quiet daughter who worked in corporate forensic auditing, a job my mother always dismissed as glorified bookkeeping. Every time Julian failed a business venture, maxed out his credit cards, or faced bankruptcy, my parents immediately swooped in to bail him out. They drained their own retirement savings and liquidated their assets just to keep his lavish lifestyle afloat. Meanwhile, my years of relentless hard work, late shifts, and financial discipline were treated like an invisible safety net. My parents viewed my success as a collective family resource, fully expecting me to step in whenever Julian's reckless decisions caught up with him. The boiling point arrived 6 months ago when Julian's latest logistics startup hit a catastrophic brick wall. Facing over $500,000 in toxic debt and looming bank foreclosures, my parents didn't ask Julian to face the consequences. Instead, my father barged into my apartment, slammed a heavy loan agreement onto my kitchen table, and demanded that I co-sign a massive corporate bailout using my pristine financial record. When I looked him dead in the eye and flatly refused to jeopardize my future for my brother's incompetence, my parents erupted in pure fury. They accused me of being selfish, cold-hearted, and ungrateful. Consumed by spite and desperate for money, they hired a high-priced corporate defense attorney to sue me. They claimed I had misappropriated family trust assets to build my wealth, determined to force a legal settlement and drain my accounts to save their golden boy. Instead of screaming, crying, or confronting my parents directly, I did what I do best. I went straight to work on the numbers. I sat down with my attorney, Arthur, and initiated a quiet, systematic audit of every single legal document, property deed, and corporate registry tying me to my family. My parents believed that because they had used a small family inheritance to kickstart my initial business years ago, they legally owned everything I had built since. They feigned total confidence, completely convinced that their aggressive court summons would scare me into an immediate, out-of-court payout. What my parents and their arrogant lawyer completely failed to realize was that their greed had made them careless. As Arthur and I dug deep into the foundational paperwork of our family's original trust, we uncovered a hidden legal safeguard set up decades ago. My late grandfather, a brilliant, self-made businessman, saw right through my father's reckless spending habits and Julian's early incompetence. Before he passed away, he quietly restructured the trust's corporate charter. According to those binding, irrevocable bylaws, the core holding company, its patents, and all umbrella subsidiaries were registered solely and permanently under my name once I reached adulthood, specifically to protect the legacy from my father. While my parents were boasting about their pending lawsuit, my independent firm had quietly expanded into a multi-million-dollar industry leader, featured in major financial publications. They thought they were suing me to recover their family trust, completely oblivious to the fact that I held sole ownership of the entire enterprise. We stayed completely silent, letting them walk straight into the courtroom trap. The atmosphere inside the packed courtroom was suffused with dramatic tension as my parents' attorney took the floor, exuding absolute victory. He gestured grandly toward my mother, who dabbed her eyes on cue, while my father sat tall, practically radiating satisfaction. Their lawyer launched into a fiery, theatrical speech, painting me as an ungrateful, ruthless daughter who had stolen from her loving family to fund her private luxury. He formally demanded an immediate freeze on my personal accounts and a court order liquidating my business assets to compensate my parents for their supposed losses. The gallery murmured in disdain, casting cold, judgment-filled looks in my direction. My attorney, Arthur, didn't panic or cut him off. He simply stood up calmly, adjusted a suit jacket, and handed a sleek blue leather folder directly to Judge Harrison. "Your Honor," Arthur said smoothly, "before we proceed with any asset liquidation, we request the court review the certified corporate trust filings for Vance Global Holdings." Judge Harrison opened the folder and began scanning the documents. At first, his expression was neutral, but as his eyes reached the second page, his eyebrows shot up in absolute astonishment. The silence in the room stretched until you could hear a pin drop. Judge Harrison slowly took off his reading glasses, looked up at my parents' attorney, and delivered the devastating line. "Wait, I read about this company in Forbes last week. Which one of you is lying to my face?" The lawyer's confident grin completely evaporated. "Your Honor, my clients are the original founders. Your clients are listed as minor non-voting beneficiaries who forfeited rights due to unauthorized debt creation," the judge interrupted sternly. The room gasped as the legal reality set in. My parents had sued me to claim an empire that was legally mine from day one. Judge Harrison slammed his gavel down, the sharp thud echoing through the dead-silent courtroom like a thunderclap. He officially dismissed my parents' fraudulent lawsuit with prejudice, immediately ordering a formal state investigation into my father and brother for attempted corporate fraud. My parents stood frozen in pure, unadulterated horror as their high-priced attorney hurriedly packed his briefcase and walked away, refusing to represent them any further. Within weeks, the fallout was absolute. Deprived of my financial backing and facing massive defaulted loans, Julian was forced to declare bankruptcy and take an entry-level job to pay off his debts. My parents had to sell their suburban home at a loss to settle their legal fees, finally facing the crushing reality of their entitled golden child. Meanwhile, I returned to my peaceful, independent life, stronger and more secure than ever before. Standing up to them didn't just save my business, it gave me my freedom. Now, I'm curious about you listening to my story. If your own family took you to court out of pure greed, would you have let the judge prosecute them, or would you have walked away completely? Let me know in the comments below.